Hey everyone, Xander's here, and holy shit, today's Pokemon trailer for Sun and Moon was an amazing reveal. We're finally getting a fuller picture of the Alola region and how 7th Gen's going to work, and I want to talk about it, so we're going to talk about it. I'm going to be discussing this new trailer. I'll be discussing the content within it, a little out of order, so yeah, I can't really contain my excitement much more. Let's just dive in. Let's go ahead and just start this off with the most obvious thing, and that is the new Pokemon. Now, I didn't do a video on the last trailer, the last set of Pokemon reveals, but this one I want to talk about because that ties into another portion of the trailer that I want to talk about near the end of the video. But let's go ahead and start off with the first one they revealed today, and that was Oricorio. Now, Oricorio is an interesting one because it's not really specifically one Pokemon, it's actually 4 different versions of a species of Pokemon. And what I mean by that is that it's all Pokemon that go by the same name, but the different types, and they're slightly different styles, I guess is what they're calling it. You can see in the video clip that's been showing, we have the, I think it's called the Bale style, or Bale maybe, and that's a fire flying type. Really cool looking. And then you have Pom-Pom style, which is an electric flying, and it's kind of, you know, cheerleader looking, kind of cool. Kind of reminds me of I can't remember the bird from the McDonald's family from back in the day. They don't really keep around anymore, but it kind of reminds me of that. And then you have the Pau style, I hope I pronounced that right, which is psychic flying, and it's, you know, kind of a more traditional, like, waving kind of fan dance looking thing. So it's a hula dancer. I love it. And they have the Sensu style, which is a ghost flying. Now this is cool, it's a ghost bird. This is awesome. And again, it's kind of like mystic looking with like actual fans and everything. This is really awesome looking. And what's really cool is that if you watch the video right here, each one of these styles appears on each of the different islands. So the 4 islands, there's a different version of this specific Pokemon. And I think that's really interesting because it really gives each island its own flair. And then you have the fact that they each have their own little like dance style and everything. It's really awesome. Speaking of dancing, Oricorio's ability is called Dancer, which allows it to copy dance moves. So Quiver Dance, for instance, like shown in the video, can be used against the opponent rather than, you know, for the opponent only. So yeah, you might be careful if you're a Quiver Dance Butterfreeze, because that may not be something that's going to help you out in the long run. So the second Pokemon that was revealed today was Meteor, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. This is the Meteor Pokemon, and it's a rock flying type. It's space live floating meteor, which is kind of an interesting idea. I mean, we've had, you know, living rocks before that float, you know, Dunatone and Soul Rock. So this is kind of that same thing. Now, what I find interesting is its ability Shields Down, which, when activated, protects the Pokemon from status conditions and has a high defense until it hits 50%, where it causes the Pokemon to change form. And when this thing changes form, it sheds its outer shell, and you get one of 4 potential, like, cores. And it's yellow, blue, like pink, and orange. Now, I don't know if that's going to add anything else to it or not. So, I mean, that's kind of an interesting idea. It's at least something unique for this Pokemon. Though, again, I'm not really sure if the cores are going to really have any kind of effect, like maybe changing the typing a little bit, or given a special move, or something like that. But we'll have to wait to, you know, see what happens when it comes out. But so this is a really interesting idea for a Pokemon. I can really get behind this. Now, following that, we got the evolution for Young Goose, which is Gumshoes. And a lot of people are really seeing the resemblance to Donald Trump here. Now, mind you, this would have been in development long before the Trump presidency announcement, so I am still not going to call it the Trump Pokemon. I refuse to. So, this is more of the detective kind of thing, hence why it has the movie Stakeout, and I'm sticking to that because I refuse to believe that Pokemon can be tainted by Donald Trump. I refuse. 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 It also has the ability Strong Jaw as a possible alternate to Stakeout, and of course this is just a pure normal type, so it just, I can see where people get it, but I'm sticking with the kind of detective motif going on. There's really not much to say about this one, otherwise. I like the design, and it's a good, interesting next step up for, you know, young Goose. So yeah. Now we have 7 Pokemon to talk about. This next one, it's a full evolutionary line, and that is the grass types, Formantis and Lurantis, and these are based on orchid mantises, which, you know, is a really interesting idea. These are really nicely designed. They're kind of goes from like a kind of cutesy little like green looking thing. It's all cute and cuddly plant looking, and then you get this kind of elegant pink with green highlight. Bipedal Pokemon. It looks really cool. They both have the ability to Leaf Guard from the first form to the second form, and you know, it's a pure grass type. I actually kind of thought it would be, you know, bug type considering it looks like it's an orchid mantis. So, you know, and it has the, you know, mantis part in at least one of them, and at least the antis suffix in the second form. So I want to stick by the idea that it's an orchid mantis inspiration for the design. And I mean, you could disagree with me, and I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but that's just what I feel here. And it's a really nice design. I like it, and that's one thing I can honestly say about the majority of 7th Gen so far is that for the most part, I'm loving the designs for this generation. Some of them are some of the most unique we've had in a long while. Some of them, while maybe not as unique as others, still are very appealing to look at and are still interesting. Only one has kind of really rubbed me the wrong way. God, Crunchish. Moving along to the next Pokemon revealed. This is actually a pre-evolution to a Pokemon that was revealed in the last trailer for Mudsdale. This is Mudbray, which is more or less a donkey. It looks like a donkey. In fact, I'm looking at Cerebi, it's called the Donkey Pokemon. So a donkey becomes a Clydesdale. Also a pure ground type, it has the ability Odin Tempo and Stamina as the 2 options for it, and it's kind of adorable. I can't argue that. I mean, you know, it's cute. And it becomes this all-powerful, like, monster of a horse, so I can't complain. This is just really nice, these designs, and they're unique because you don't really see much in the way of horse Pokemon very often. Now, while it's the end of the new Pokemon for the region, we're not exactly done talking about Pokemon from that region, but we'll get back to that a little later. Next, I actually want to talk about the riding mechanics. Yes, riding Pokemon returns from the last generation, and they are upping the ante. What it looks like, you're going to have this kind of like saddle kind of thing you can bring around, I guess. At least what I'm seeing is that you're able to attach saddles to different Pokemon. And you're going to be able to do different things. There are Pokemon such as Tauros, allows you to break through rocks, or going across certain terrains with Mudsdale. You can use Sharpedo to go through rocks in the water, and you got to fly on the back of Charizard, and it looks so cool. I mean, look at this! I mean, this is really interesting. I'm a sucker for Charizard. I really am. Squirtle may be my #1 Pokemon, but I have a soft spot for Charizard. I really do. And being able to go like, you know what? Fuck you, I'm flying on a Charizard and get on it with handles and fly off. Oh, my inner child is squeeing beyond belief right now. So freaking cool. I can't wait, and I'm wondering if this is going to replace HM moves. Seriously, think about it. Rock Smash, Surf, Fly, Sharpedo, Tauros, Charizard. I just covered 3 HM moves just by being on the back of a Pokemon. Maybe that's something that's going to come up. Maybe they're getting rid of HMs or finding an alternate way to really do it so it doesn't make the game too arduous. It's very possible. It's kind of an interesting thought. Though I can't say with any confirmation that that is the case, that they're getting rid of HMs and then just replacing it with this like riding mechanic to allow you to traverse different terrains and to fly and all that. But I think it's an interesting thought process and a bit of speculation. So keep an eye out on that. It could lead to something. Maybe it couldn't, I don't know. Just saying. Now the next thing we get to look at is what is being called the Island Challenge, and this is your rite of passage. So basically this is going to talk about the gems, as it were, for this generation, and they're going about it a bit differently. Now from what we can tell from this trial is that it goes in 2 stages. The initial stage is going and fighting the trial captains. each of these captains are on each of the islands, and each of them have their own type specialty. First we have Mallow, which is the grass type specialist. We have Lana, which is the water type specialist. We have Sophocles, the electric type specialist. And we have Kiawe, I think he's the fire type specialist. So we have fire, electric, grass, water. Your basic 4 elements. Not counting earth. I don't know, just no earth. Now once you beat the captains, that's when you actually go into what's going to be essentially a totem Pokemon battle, where you have these souped up versions of Pokemon that show up and then call allies in to challenge you, and you have to beat them. So it's kind of cool. You go through the gym and then you go into a challenge right after. It's kind of interesting. Now, I don't know if it's going to be like immediately after the battle and you're going to get healed or you're stuck with what you've got, or if it's something you can just come back to and challenge once it's done. But it's kind of interesting if you actually look at the video. You see the new Gumshoes as a totem Pokemon, and you can see it kind of gets its aura flare up and its defense raises, and then it calls in a Yungoos. So I don't know. This is really an interesting kind of way to go about this. But the challenge isn't over yet. No. There's still one more thing to do after you beat the totems and the captains. After you clear each island's trials, you get to battle the Kahunas. So we have the Kahuna of Melee Island, which is of course Hala. So you're going to battle Hala after you beat that island's captain and totem Pokemon. So this is a really interesting system. This is our new way of doing gym battles in this generation. And wow, there's only 4 gyms essentially. But then you have the Kahunas. So I guess it's kind of 4 more. I don't know exactly how this is going to work. If you have to go through the captains and the totems and then the Kahunas to get, I guess, your badges for each island. And if it's really just the 4, I mean, it seems kind of short for a game. You only have the 4 gyms, plus even adding the initial 2 battles after those, the totem and the Kahunas. That's really not much. So I'm actually wondering if it really is just those 4 islands, if it's just those Kahunas and there's not an Elite 4. I really don't know. But it could be the Kahunas are the Elite 4, since there are 4 of them. And you just have the 4 captains plus the totem battles. I don't know. And it also leaves a bit of speculation on, will we be going back to Kalos? Seeing, more gyms there, and see how they've changed over time or not. I don't know, because frankly, it's really seemed more less and less likely that it's going to be a 2 region game as it's gone on. But I don't know. I'm of 2 minds on this. One part of me is excited because this is completely different from previous formulas for Pokemon games. It's always been the 8 gems. After you do that, you have the Elite 4, and then you fight the champion, and then you become the champion. That's kind of how it's always been. So this is a little different, and I think change is a good thing when it comes to a franchise like this, because you can't just keep doing the same thing, game after game after game after game. However, the other part of me sits here and goes, how short is this going to make this game? And that's actually something that kind of worries me a little bit. While they're trying to do something new and innovative and interesting, they kind of might be, putting their legs out from underneath and hampering the game and making it a little too short. I know that was one problem a lot of people had with X and Y, was that it seemed a lot shorter. A lot of it was due to what people considered the oversimplification of the game. It's made it too easy. And I don't know if that's going to be the case here, but what hurt X and Y for a lot of people was the smaller set of new Pokemon, which was the smallest amount of new Pokemon in a generation ever, at under 100. And then you had the easy difficulty. This seems we're going to have half the gyms, and the Elite 4 of this is going to be like right after you fight the gyms almost. And I don't know if there's going to be like a champion. This is a rite of passage concept. So I really don't know how they're going to do this, and how this is going to play out in the long run. And if it is just, the 4 islands, and it's only those 4 gyms, the Elite 4 thing, the way they're doing it, there better be a great post game, because that seems like it's going to be a pretty short adventure in the grand scheme, of the franchise compared to its predecessors. So, like I said, I'm of two minds on this. I really don't know how to feel about this completely, though I am leaning more towards the excited aspect because I'm always interested in seeing new twists and long-running franchises. I don't always want to see the same thing. I do like to see them try something different, and this is definitely one of the most ambitious generations we've seen in a long time. No doubt there. So, I don't know. Maybe you'll have a second region. Likely not. Maybe there's something else to this outside of just the 4 captains and the 4 totem battles and the 4 kahunas. I really don't know. Time will tell. And now for the next big mechanic reveal for Sun and Moon, Z moves. Essentially, we're finally getting to see what those bracelets with those little diamonds do. These crystals, or these gems, that are going to be placed in the bracelet have corresponding crystals or gems. I forget how they called them. I'm really bad at this. I know. It's given to a Pokemon, and they have a corresponding move between them. And when it's activated, once per battle, a Pokemon gets to do essentially a Z move, and it surrounds itself in what's called Z power. And it gets to unleash these powerful elemental attacks. And I mean, these are like god tier, like Dragon Ball Z level, oh my god, special moves, big bang attack kind of things. So at the very least, like if you look at Pikachu in the video here, you get Gigavolt Havoc, which is just a, fuck all electric attack, and it looks kind of cool. And there's a Z move for every type, so stuff like Bloom of Doom for grass types, then you've got, and then Inferno Overdrive for fire types, and so on and so forth. And of course, do your own little dance thing, whatever, because you're super cool kids who can dance, and so you're gonna Ginyu Force this shit. I'm putting a lot of emphasis on Dragon Ball Z in this one, aren't I? But it's an interesting new mechanic, and I think it's gonna add a new wrinkle to gameplay, which is fine. Though it makes me wonder, is Mega Evolution going to have any effect in this game at all? Are there any new Mega Forms? Are we just dropping Mega Evolutions altogether? I mean, I really don't know. They've not announced anything. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't hate the Z power idea. It's kind of cool. Basically, you're going to be able to power up this gem and Stringonias, do a little dance, and your Pokemon's gonna just go fuck you to your opponent and then blast the shit out of it with a super powerful move. And they're really beautiful looking. I don't know how they're gonna do this, like this once per Pokemon or once completely per battle. It says once per battle, so I'm assuming it's just you get one chance. This is your in a pinch hitting move. So I don't know. Looks kind of cool though. Just the dancing thing gets me. Now, I saved this section for the end of the video on purpose because I wanted to talk about this specifically. Back during the Pokemon Direct announcement, before it happened, I was speculating whether it's going to be, Gen 7 or if it's going to be Pokemon Z. I was talking about this because before we knew about Sun and Moon. And there was a section in the video where I started talking about, things I wanted to see in the in a new generation game. So it turns out I'm somewhat psychic, or at the very least, I'm on the same wavelength as people Game Freak to a certain extent, because one of the things I wanted to see in 7th Gen is more or less happening. So let's jump to the clip real quick from that video, and then we'll come back to discussing the last section of the new trailer for 7th Gen. Now, one of the things I would really like to see in 7th Gen is more diverse Pokemon. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean speciation. I want to see something more along the lines of Shellos and Basculin, where we have Pokemon that have different versions of themselves. I want to see a West Coast, East Coast kind of differentiation. I want to see a North and South. I want to see something that shows a diversity within the Pokemon world, even within the same species, because I think that's just very fascinating. And it's not something they really play around with much. And maybe even a regional difference in Pokemon that already exists. So maybe we could see something a little different. I mean, we know in the real world that species change, country to country, region to region, even within the same country. And they have differences, such as maybe different skin colors. or maybe they have different eating habits. Maybe they're slightly different sizes. So while Bulbasaur might be dark green with the light green bud, and then when it evolves into a Venusaur, the flower is kind of pink. Maybe in a different region, such as Sinnoh, you would see something that would be a little bit lighter on the skin tone, and the bulb actually open up into a white flower, so it can blend in the more snowy regions or the colder regions. Maybe with this new region, we can have something like that, and we have some speciation with existing Pokemon. That's just a thought, and I think would be something really cool, and something for us really weird collectors, because, you know, shiny hunting only takes so long. It'd be more fun maybe to collect from different regions to see what variations we can find. But that's just a collector in me. What can I say? I'm weird. Interesting, isn't it? Because they're essentially doing that in this game. In two ways, mind you. So we have the speciation of Oricorio, where each island has its own variation of the same Pokemon. It's different based on the food it eats. Speciation, evolution, like actual science kind of stuff, and Pokemon. Not exactly, because this is, you know, birds that shoot fire and electricity, which doesn't exist in the real world. But the point is, the concept is there that, based on the island, this Pokemon is different. And each one is kind of like the Galapagos finches, Darwin's finches. It's very similar to that. Based on the food they eat, they're different looking. And their feathers and their styles and stuff like that. Much like finches in the real world were different based on the food that was around them and how they had to get to that food. Beak differences, size differences, things like that. So this is, in a lot of ways, the finches done in a different way. And it's really cool that they're taking that kind of concept of actual evolution and putting it in this game. But there's another thing they're doing when it comes to speciation that I also mentioned in that video, as you saw, which was the variations in older Pokemon. So let's talk about the Alola forms for older Pokemon. So first up in the Alola forms is Exeggutor, and wow, I didn't see this one coming. Essentially, we're getting Exeggutor in this variant where it's an extremely tall palm tree, rather than the kind of shorter one we've seen for, you know, years now. And it gets a tail with another one of its faces back there. So it's really cool looking. It also gets dragon typing added to its grass typing and has the ability Frisk. And it's dorky looking as ever. But it's so interesting to see how this Pokemon from Kanto has thrived and developed differently in the Alola region. And this is the kind of thing I was talking about, where you're taking old Pokemon and you're putting new twists on them based on the region they're in. This is just so cool. Now, what you might have noticed while I was talking about Exeggutor is that it's a Grass Dragon type now instead of Grass Psychic, so it's having a type change, but still keeps the primary aspect of being Grass type. However, there is something else that's going on too. It's not just the secondary types that are changing, but the primary ones are changing too with other Gen 1 Pokemon. For instance, Vulpix and Ninetales are now getting Ice variants. That's right, they're not fire anymore. They're ice. In fact, Ninetales is ice and fairy now. Like, this just looks amazing. I love this. It's so cool of a concept, and just seeing these Pokemon, they're different, and they're ice variants, and they're just adorable, and they're majestic, and just, oh my god, I want this so bad. This is what I was wanting to see. This is thinking outside the box. This is awesome. Game Freak, good job. Now, it's not just Vulpix and Ninetales that are jumping on the ice train. Nope. Sandshrew and Sandslash are also joining them in their Alola forms, which are also ice type, but they both gain a secondary typing with steel type. Now, mind you, yes, this is going to make them extremely weak to fire. I get it. And to other types as well. So this isn't the strongest type combination in the world, but it's just such a cool idea, because essentially Sandshrew becomes an igloo. Look at it! It looks like an igloo! It's so cool. And Sandslash goes from just having this quills to being like, you know, ice crags. It's so interesting. This is what I was wanting to see. This is the cool shit I have been wanting, because Pokemon would be different in the different regions. They wouldn't just be the same across every one like they have been for years. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Now, these 4 new ice variants all have Snow Cloak, so it's not much of a variation there, but we have Vulpix go from pure fire to pure ice. We have Ninetales going from pure fire to ice fairy. Then you have the Pure Ground Sandshrew and Sandslash becoming Ice Steel. This is so cool to see these guys just not get a physical change, but typing changes because of where they live in a different region. I want more of this. This is exactly the kind of thing I want to see, and it keeps people on their toes because you don't know what you can come up with. I mean, think about this. In a doubles battle, I can now have 2 different versions of Ninetales on the field at the same time. The Pure Fire Kanto version and the Ice Psychic version from Alola at the same time. That's so cool. I want to see more of this. Just think about the different type changes you can get from Alola with other older Pokemon. And I want to see if they're going to bring more of these out. This is the kind of thing where it's like, holy shit, what's going to change now? I'm excited about this. But yeah, the excitement levels for me is off the charts. This is the kind of stuff I'd want to see with Gen 7, is it is making its own identity. We have so many interesting new mechanics. We have so many interesting new Pokemon. And we're getting updated new versions of Classic. And not just Mega Evolutions. We're getting whole new versions with different typings. And this is really, really awesome. Now, I don't know still if this is completely getting rid of Mega Evolutions or not in this game, or how it's going to work. I don't know. But I'm excited about this. And what I find really cool is that a lot of people are kind of calling this the Orange Islands game that we never got back in the day. So, I mean, that's kind of true in a way. It does function a lot like the Orange Islands did. Not exclusively, but close to. So, I don't know. Overall, I'm really excited. And I can't wait for this to come out. November 18th is really close now. We're in the first day of August. And it's just, you know, gotta gung-ho through the rest of this to get there. We gotta try to keep from salivating too much. So, I'm excited. I know my kids will be excited when they get to see this stuff. So, what are your thoughts? Do you think these new mechanics are really cool? Do you like these new Alola forms of Classics? And what do you think of the brand new Pokemon that were revealed today? Let me know down in the comments below. And also watch them about your favorite Pokemon from the region so far. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video. And until next time, my name is Xandros. As always, please remember, stay awesome. Until next time.